Hello and welcome to Module 5 of our 6 modules of Velocity. We are talking about launch and integrate. Last week we talked about enroll and fulfill. As I mentioned, was very tangible, very earthbound work and planning and process. Launch and integrate is a little bit more ethereal, a little bit more mystical. So I'm really excited to dive into this concept. A lot of people get caught up by their goal because they are trapped in their relationship with success. And they say, I don't want to work that hard to be that successful. I don't want to do lives. I don't want to build a website. And I'm specifically referring, let's say you have a business goal in this moment. I don't want to do what I perceive I have to do to hit that goal. First off, we might have to evaluate that because there's probably some things that are important, natural steps of the desired goal. But at the same time, there's also that co-creative component, which is there's synchronicities. You are co-creating, therefore you are not the only player in the game. You might be assuming a larger role than necessary. And so that's why I want to talk about launch and integrate from a more mystical sense. Activating that authentic leader within, to do that is going to lead to inspired and aligned action. I'm not talking about action for the sake of action, busy for the sake of busy. I'm talking about your magic. I grew up in America, so you might be listening from another country. You might have some different societal norms, but here in the Western world, we've established hustle, grind, hard work, 9 to 5, competition, corporate consumerism, blah, blah, blah. We think that what productive is a hardworking 40-hour work week. That's not necessarily true. When I broke away from the 40-hour work week, I started to realize, especially as a writer, I do not need to be writing from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, to be a successful writer. I can write for 2 hours from 10 to midnight and sleep in till 11 a.m. and enjoy my coffee when I wake up and be just as successful, or probably more productive and enjoying my life in a different way. That's what we're breaking up here. In enroll and fulfill, setting up structures for success is your structures for success, not society's definition of structure for success. A lot of people say, you got to wake up at 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. and get more done than everybody else before noon to be successful. That is not true. That is not true. That's some militant, outdated prescription for success, right? And if you're a 5 a.m.er, that's great if you truly are. But we do not have to contort ourselves out of our organic, authentic way of being. I teach exactly the opposite. Embrace who and how you are and harness that and accentuate it in order to then succeed as yourself. There's a lot of people who didn't understand what I was creating or couldn't see the full vision. That didn't matter. And particularly my working pattern. I love to work on a Saturday night if that's when I want to work. It's not about I'm missing out on whatever Saturday night means for everybody. It's really about owning yourself and then tapping into that, because there's a lot more fluidity and a lot less resistance if you're following your organic energy cycles. Activation of your true internal inner authority and authentic leader, and then inspired, aligned, activated action. Here in the steps for launch and integrate, the concept of this is integration of the 3D, 4D, and 5D, the different dimensions. So I will spend a moment explaining the dimensions, and then we're going to talk a lot about embodiment. 3D is the 3D, the tangible, the taste, touch, see, smell senses. That's the third dimension. Here, everything's very solid and dense. And so it is what it is. If you've ever heard people reinforce, it is what it is. The fourth dimension says it isn't what it is. It isn't what it is. Everything's a concept. Everything's a construct. Everything is agreed upon. Money is more fluid. The fourth dimension, you begin to bend the laws and rules of the third dimension. Money isn't real. Time isn't real. The laws aren't really real. They might be important and valuable. I'm not taking away from any of that. They really can be negotiated. The fourth dimension is where you start to become an alchemist and you can use your awareness that all of these concepts and rules are very malleable, very bendable, to then use them in your favor, to not be limited by what the 3D agreements are. One of my favorites, particularly around money, if you grew up in poverty or maybe middle class or lower, is there might be some money is hard, money is scarce, money goes out faster than it comes in, the rich get richer, the rich are selfish. There's a lot. And some of them are so subtle conversations around money that then limits you. So if you are going to agree with that version of reality, you will live in that version of reality. You have to stretch your mind out of what you've seen and been taught and told and conditioned to believe in the 3D realm by people in that agreement. You have to rise above that dimension into the fourth dimension to look down at it and say, but how come other people are living a different reality? How come the rules don't apply to that person or that community or that tax bracket? How come in one country people get married at 14, 15, and 16, and in another country people get married at 20 in their 20s? In some countries people get married in 30. Some people don't get married at all. Some people don't have kids. Why are all these different? To question it all is to pull it all apart. That's the work of the fourth dimension, is to start to pull all of these things apart. And in the fifth dimension and beyond, it all just falls apart. To blast past all of the dimensions would take all form and construct, would begin to disintegrate and fall apart and be non-existent, because beyond all the dimensions, particularly the third and the fourth, moving into the fifth is where there is no form, shape, construct, separation. The center of all that is, and I talk a lot about this in my book, Alchemizing Judgment, the center of all that is simply frequency, the frequency of love, the frequency of unity. Some people call that God. Some people call it universe, source energy, vortex, whatever, wherever, however. It doesn't have a name. It is ineffable. It does not need words. Everything comes from that. And that's what I teach in Alchemizing Judgment. But I'm giving you a crash course because we're going to talk about what that has to do with velocity and what that has to do with your goals. To go to the fifth dimension where there is no resistance, there is no difference between you and $1 million. There is no difference between you and your soulmate. There is no difference between you and the lifestyle you say you want to live. Everything is available there because it's where everything comes from. So it's instantaneous. Here, if I say I want something, I want a pizza, I have to leave this room, go downstairs, walk to my car, drive to the place, pick up the pizza. So it's an obstacle course. That's what this world is. It's an obstacle course. In the fifth dimension, there's no difference between me and the pizza. I am it and it is me and it is there and I am there. It's all the same. And pizza might be a silly example, but everything is instantly available. That's where we live as our soul self. But then we take a body, we fill a body, we take a life. And we come down to this realm and it's not instantly available. And we're like, what is this? How come I can't just think it and have it? Do you ever get frustrated that you have a divine download, an inspired thought, and you can see the whole vision so clearly, and now you have to wait for time and space to have it? How unfair. That's why we get so frustrated, because we can see it so clearly, we can feel it. How come it's not coming? Because we have to master being human, the art of the 3D realm. Part of that is remembering where we came from and why it might be so frustrating that it's not instantaneous here too. I want to give you access to that fifth dimension. In the fifth dimension, here we are in our soul self. And then we decide to take a body and we make our way away from the center of all that is, move through the fourth dimension, move into the third dimension, and land in utero. And we grow. And I like to use the umbilical cord. We pull this golden thread out of the fifth dimension and we bring it with our soul to the 3D realm. So we are always connected to that fifth dimension, to the center of all that is, to the core of who we are and where we come from. And I like to use the umbilical cord as the visual here because we're growing, we remember, we're there, and then we come out and they cut that umbilical cord. And in this physical example, we are cut from our source and we basically start our forgetting. We forget where we come from. And especially depending on how we grew up, we might forget more and more and more before we awaken and remember. We're taught a lot of opposite things of who we really are and where we come from. And so then we have to deprogram all that, decondition all of that in this step of launch and integrate. So I'm really far out there for where we've been in these modules, but stay with me because it will come full circle, which is the fifth dimension. Ask and you shall receive. I know you've heard that, but that's what that means. Ask and you shall receive. Ask and it is given. But you have to know, you have to remember that in the third dimension, ask and it is given, because that means it is on its way to you. But just like me going to get the pizza, it might take me 30 minutes to get out of this room, down the stairs, into my car, to the pizza place, to bring it back, to sit down and eat it. I have to wait the 45 minutes for that gratification of ask and then receive. Well, what if it's something bigger than that? Because we're using the physical as an example. Let's say your soulmate lives in Europe. You have to close the gap between you two. Let's say I asked to meet my soulmate. It is given. And now he, for me, maybe he, she, I don't know, is on their way and I am on my way. We are navigating this physical realm to approach each other. But if I get all worked up, let's say we're this far apart. We were this far apart and now we're this far apart. And I get pissed and shitty and I give up and I go hide out and I say, no love ever in my life, forget it. And then they're just kind of like, well, I wonder where she's at, because now I've become unavailable for that to receive it. I'm blocking it because of what? It took too long? That's what we have to know about this physical realm. That's why co-creative components and structures for success and accountability are so important, so that you do not give up before it manifests. You can be 3 feet from your goal and give up and not find it, because now you are energetically unavailable to receive it. And it will just circle you until you then decide, I need to recommit to that goal and realign. And now it's like, smack you right in the head because it's been waiting for you. If we pull back up the PDF, release and detach to the outcome, to the timeline, to the manifestation. We're feeling for the frequency. You're feeling into the frequency of success and achievement and abundance and the highest good of all, not the physical measurement and manifestation of it. So yes, be committed to it, but also be fluid about it. We must release our expectations so that it can come to us in frequency. And so when you're following the frequency, when you're committed to the outcome, you are having to release and detach anything that's out of alignment, anything that is in resistance, any sort of expectations that would then disempower you. And also part of the next step is trust and surrender. There will be seemingly unrelated pieces of guidance to move you in the direction. Remember, we talked about the higher self, and let's say you start getting a little off track, that your higher self might move you over. The redirection, or you might get an urge or an inclination that seems out of alignment with your desired goal. But if it's clear and strong, you have to practice trust and surrender. It might be unknown. The outcome might be unknown, or you might get a hard redirect that causes you to question everything. And that's okay. Feeling into the frequency of trust and surrender, asking, please guide me, surrendering to you don't know it all. There are co-creative components that will come into your life that might not make sense to you because you have a very limited perspective on all that's available, all that's possible. You are only operating on what you know is available and what your world experience has been. But consider there's a way more expansive level of tools that are available to you and resources that are available to you that will get you to your desired outcome for the highest good of all. So you have to trust and surrender to that process, especially if you are seriously holding your vision and your intentions and your commitment. You will fulfill on that. It just might not look like you expected it to look. Trust and surrender. What will maintain you through this process is embodiment. It doesn't matter when the manifestation comes. If I live as if all the aligned manifestations will come to pass. Embodiment and creation means I am creating, and I'm actually going to read the next two, which is aligned and activated action. Creation and aligned action are all a result, a byproduct of embodiment. This is me. This is who I am. I am Hearts Unleashed. Therefore, I create the ripple effect of Hearts Unleashed. Creation, activation, aligned action is all a result of the embodiment of Hearts Unleashed. To live that, to live your desired outcome, to live your vision, you will naturally be taking steps. You will naturally be making aligned choices. You will be in action around that commitment, that intention, and you will continue to just naturally manifest continued guidance down the path of your destiny, which is the whole point. Yes, you are going to hit mountain peak after mountain peak, milestone after milestone, and that is wonderful. And you should always celebrate that appropriately. In fact, the next module is celebrate and complete. But life is a series of completion. It's a series of mountain peak moments. It's a series of celebration because you're always going to set out for something new. Don't kill yourself ignoring that you've arrived somewhere. And also don't kill yourself only ever trying to arrive somewhere. This is it. This is life. I'm sitting here with one of my best friends recording content that I'm so passionate about. This is it. It's done. We're doing it. It's fun. It's not about getting the video back, putting it on the website, having it sell millions of dollars worth. Like that will be fun too. And this is fun right now. So embody your success now. Heal your relationship with success and achievement now. Be successful. Don't do success, because you are a success by way of breathing and living and sharing your light. I am so glad to be here with you doing it, because this is all of what Hearts Unleashed is about. And so to launch and integrate is to just be it. Just be you. Live it day in and day out. That's what integrate means, to weave it into your reality. It is not some isolated victory. Be victorious every day. Let it radiate from who you are and let people see that. And when you hit that mark, when you hit that milestone, people are going to say, of course she did. Of course he did. Because he is already that. She already lives it. She already breathes it. Be your success and join me to celebrate it in the next module.